Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. I'm, of course, the Battle Room. And today I'm joined by Alex. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. Happy to be back.
So today we're going to be watching the Portland Regional Finals, which is pretty hype. I think it was kind of a weird regional. Like, the teams were weird. There was no Koraidon in top 8. I believe there was Spore on every single top 8 team, if it was Amoonguss or Brute Bonnet. So it was kind of a weird, funky regional, the last NA regional of the year as well. Today we have a finals between Gavin and Zhang, which is pretty fucking hype because I feel like Gavin, he's on a weird, he was banned for half the season, so he's on this weird comeback tour. He doesn't have much time to get his Worlds invite. And obviously, Zhang is looking to win another regional. He's tweeting about it all the time. He's got that, that like grind.
Drive.
He's got that drive. He's got that grind set mentality. He wants to win so bad. So I thought it was actually super hype when I saw him in the finals.
Yeah, this is a very good set of players. And funnily enough, when I was doing my smart money pick of who I think will win the tournament, Zhang was my pick. So I was kind of like losing it, just like wow, I might have actually called the winner out of the whole field.
So yeah, let's hop into it. Let's see what they're using, because I think going forward, I do think that the meta will be significantly changed by these two teams. I think Gavin's team basically introduced us to another new archetype here, because obviously this was something that popped off at this tournament, and it was, I think, something not a lot of people were necessarily prepared for.
Right. Yeah, the name that I'm seeing coined for it so far, White Whale. It might stick around, and maybe it won't look exactly like this. There was another example of this archetype in top 4 of this very tournament. So 2 breakout performances for an archetype that was previously not putting up any results is just a sign that it was being overlooked, and it's got some actual strength.
Yeah, and I think like it's kind of a weird one because like they're both relatively slow, and so it is like trying to find the balance of, obviously the trick room mode is good, but then having that fast mode is really important. We saw, I think it was Iron Jugulus in top 4 with Tailwind to provide Kyogre with some action, and in this game we have an Icy Wind Flutter Mane.
Yeah, the Flutter is a cool pick because it helps keep those Sun teams in control, and we'll have to see if it does the job here because it's going up against a Koraidon. However, the Weezing definitely going to get in the way of that. We'll have to see when we go over to Zhang's team.
But yeah, how do you feel about the White Whale archetype? Do you think it's like here to stay? Do you think it is a top tier pick?
It's interesting because, both of these restricteds with their, traditional day 1 sets would have a very bad time dealing with Zamazenta and or Lunala. Wide Guard kind of just shutting down their best moves. However, both of them have kind of flipped the script with some, cool choices here. Hydro Pump allowing you to do massive damage around Wide Guard is it's a consistent enough option. Yes, the accuracy might be worrisome, but you don't really need coverage with this Kyogre. You have ways to hit those grass types via Calyrex's Glacial Lance. And as for the Calyrex, we've seen this Leech Seed set get quite popular over the past couple of weeks, and it is doing a really good job of staying on the field and just sticking around, staying alive, kind of like Ferrothorn or Celesteela did back in the day, just trading health very favorably while being incredibly tanky, but it can set Trick Room and cover those grass types, as I mentioned with Glacial Lance. So there's some solid synergy between those two restricteds.
And now we have the Sun team here. Now, I think Weezing is going to play a huge part in this matchup, like it does in almost every matchup with this team. I feel like Weezing is the centerpiece. It, like, just holds everything together. It helps you with Tailwind. It helps you with Trick Room. It helps you with Rain, right? Like, just having that complete Sun control is pretty lit. And I think this is a team that you need to be prepared for going forward. It won the Australian Regional as well, and it's in the finals here. So this shit is real. This is something you have to beat with the Walking Wake as well, with Aqua Jet and Snarl.
The Wake continues to impress. It's not, the star of the show. I would say that Weezing is still the Pokemon that's driving the force of the battle, I guess, the game. And so, yeah, but the Weezing, it really does enable some cool picks because your opponent is going to have a lot less options. Taunt is really, really strong with Covert Cloak and Neutralizing Gas, basically saying you do not get to play the game. And the Walking Wake, yeah, Aqua Jet is just continuing to impress as well. It is so funny because we're in a metagame where Focus Sash is a very strong item to deal with all the different nukes that are thrown at you left and right from these strong restricted Pokemon. However, if something lives on 1 HP, you can just finish it off very easily with Aqua Jet. It's, nothing's immune to it outside of like Water Absorb or Storm Drain. And even though it's a special attacker in the sun, it's just exactly what the team needs, a consistent way to deal with Sash Pokemon.
Yeah, and I think Chi-Yu just kind of brings everything together. It's powered up by the sun. It enables both Walking Wake and Shadow Rider. And it's just kind of a good, strong, fast Pokemon. And then obviously Brute Bonnet is the one change from the Australian team that wasn't Incineroar before, but now you have Spore, Rage Powder. You just have a little bit more utility with the 6. So going into this matchup, I think it's about Weezing once again. I feel like whenever Weezing's involved, it's just like, can the Weezing player enable him to win the game, and can the Weezing survive long enough to stop whatever abilities it needs to prevent, whether it's a Terra Shell or whether it's this Rain here.
Yeah, I think another part of this is another thing to think about is that Gavin did already kind of dismantle a team like this in top 4, I believe, maybe top 8,
I think it was top 8,
actually. But anyways, that one had Dozo, and notably the Weezing lacked Taunt. This time, Weezing having Taunt kind of changes all of the options here. However, Gavin does have the Koraidon in a bit of a funny pin where, yeah, Moonblast can easily one-shot this Koraidon, and so Terra Fire prevents that. But Water Spout would completely ruin Koraidon's day if it does go for that Terra Fire. Sun is up, but it's still super effective and so strong.
Yeah, one thing to note here is Flutter Mane and Koraidon do have the same speed because there is no booster for the Flutter here. But I feel like a lot of the Koraidons do run a more bulky... just a little more bulk on this set. They're not max speed. They're relying on Weezing a lot here. So I do imagine that this Flutter Mane will probably move first. And like you said,
right. And
here's the Terra Fire. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And Gavin auto-locked the
that
Ice
is just
Wind.
that's got to be a question of, like, does this still do enough? Icy Wind going to allow Kyogre to get off the Water Spout uninterrupted without getting any damage onto it before it fires off the attack. But I don't think Koraidon's actually going to go down in one because of, the bulk you had just mentioned. And so even though it wasn't actually able to maybe potentially speed tie that Flutter Mane, it is still able to tank the hit.
Yeah, and that Sash is big, but now Weezing can follow it up with a Poison Gas or a Play Rough here. So getting rid of that Flutter is going to be huge for Jay here. Oh, but Flutter Mane dodges. Oh my god, that's huge. That's huge.
You can see Gavin's reaction there, just realizing that makes this so much easier. Maybe this was already part of the plan, using Flutter just to buy one turn in the early game, weaken that Koraidon for later. But now you can just do it again. Icy Wind, Water Spout, and we talked about Walking Wake being able to pick off Sash Pokemon pretty easily, but it's not on the field right now. It definitely could switch in, but it risks catching a Moonblast. The question is, what do you switch out? Do you keep your Weezing on the field even though it's not exerting the most pressure, or do you switch out your Koraidon and let that Flutter Mane activate its photosynthesis? Or sorry, we'll switch out the Weezing and activate photosynthesis in the Flutter.
Yeah, we're gonna see double protect actually, which is kind of crazy. But you're right. Honestly, I kind of feel like Gavin should just be firing off a Moonblast to potentially punish the Walking Wake, because they should both go down to Spout. So, well, I guess you do have to Icy Wind though, because you did get the speed boost. Never mind. I think you kind of have to Icy Wind.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe.
At the very least, you would Shadow Ball the Koraidon for the KO, because Icy Wind, it's not really doing any damage to the Weezing, but Icy Wind does notably catch Shadow Rider or Walking Wake on the switch in and drop their speed, so that you don't have to worry about them being faster than your Flutter in any circumstance.
Yeah, and also, like, depending on what switches out here, like, the Rain could go up, which is pretty big for Gavin. He's in just a really, really good spot with the that dodge was huge. Yeah. The Weezing, you have to just think differently. Like, it's so annoying.
Yeah, it's true. If Weezing does switch out here, Rain would get set up. So not a very comfortable position for Ja here, especially because of that turn 1 miss.
I think preserving Koraidon is probably correct. You do kind of need him to help with the Ice Rider a little bit. Like, a Flare Blitz is still going to do big damage. And we're going to actually see the Brute Bonnet come in. And we are going to see the Shadow Ball adjustment from Gavin, which I respect. He's like, I'm just going to get the KO here. Does this pick up Weezing? It does not. He's the GOAT. He's so good. And the Plariphonic Kyogre. Okay. Yeah, he's dealing damage.
Landing the hits, but still. This
Yeah.
is looking quite tough because, yeah, taunt is something you can use to avoid Sucker Punch with the Flutter Mane, so something else is going to have to deal with its 1 HP there. And like Brute Bonnet also has to worry about, if you Sucker Punch into taunt, you get nothing, but if you get Moon Blasted, you might just get outright KO'd. So the Flutter Mane kind of forcing an annoying 50-50 here with respect to the Brute Bonnet.
Yeah, and then Amoonguss is going to come in, so he does go for Sucker Punch into, was that Kyogre? No, it was into one of them. We don't know which.
We don't know.
I do think Sucker Punch and Kyogre wasn't a bad play either, because it would probably put it almost in range. Now we're going to see a player up onto the 4. Wait, is he going to die? He dies to Rocky Helmet. That was actually such a good turn for Gavin there. Killing Weezing with Rocky Helmet, and then also taunting the Brute Bonnet feels pretty good.
Right. I mean, on the flip side, at the very least, Zhe gets to switch to a new Pokemon. However, running out of, resources in the back, we can switch in our last Pokemon, likely Shadow Rider. But if we do that, we have to keep it safe from the opposing Flutter. We can't exactly Rage Powder. We can Sucker Punch, but then, are we going to be able to do enough to one-shot this Amoonguss? That is the big question. And if we go into Koraidon here, I mean, Koraidon's so low on health. And with Kyogre in the back, it can now set up the rain again. Even if it's low health Kyogre, setting up the rain just one more time might be enough to turn the tides of this battle in Gavin's favor.
Yeah, he's going to win that Weather War, which I think that's why the switch to Amoonguss was really, really smart. It was so safe. There was very little that could go wrong. And just getting the guaranteed rain there does feel pretty good. Because right now, I feel like it is just a switch to Kyogre. And I'm thinking just Spore. Like, I'm not seeing too much downside to that play. But the Flutter Mane is at 1 HP. And, I mean, you have to assume Shadow Rider's probably the last. But I don't know. If Shadow Rider's the last, I kind of would have liked it to come in right here.
Seems like Gavin wanted to cover for the Shadow Rider swap and goes for a Shadow Ball, which is uncontested by a Sucker Punch from the Brute Bonnet. I think something else to worry about in the position of Gavin is if you do try to Spore that Koraidon and it goes for a Flare Blitz, it's very likely to just KO itself. And Brute Bonnet not messing around with any more Sucker Punch mind games, maybe expecting the Kyogre swap over there and trying to cover it with a Seed Bomb. However, it wasn't too bad of a play for Zhe there because Shadow Ball being resisted by Brute Bonnet, it's very negligible damage.
The taunt here is paying off super, super huge because now Brute Bonnet can't actually do the things that it wants to do here. So this is a free just Rage Powder Glacial, right? Like, I'm seeing no downsides. There's nothing that can switch in on this. No, I guess maybe Chi Yu, but even then, like, Kyogre's waiting in the back. Trick Room could go up here as well. Like, you can kind of do whatever you want. I like Glacial because I'm assuming the last mon isn't Chi Yu, but still, this is just looking nice.
Something super tough about the position is that I believe Taunt is lasting a little bit longer on the Brute Bonnet because it went for Sucker Punch the turn it was taunted. It didn't get to use one of the taunt turns the turn that it happened. And so it feels like it's a bit longer. And yeah, that really is paying off for Gavin right now because, yeah, not having any fear of Spore, really limiting the options here.
You're blowing my fucking mind right now. Is that actually how Taunt works? Like, you have to
so,
burn
as
a
well as
turn?
Encore, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's huge. I didn't know that
You
at
can
all.
kind of think about it like slow Spore and fast Spore, slow Encore, fast Encore, and I believe slow and fast Taunt are the same way as well. Hopefully I'm not spreading misinformation, but we do see Flare Blitz going to easily one-shot Amoonguss, but it's just a trade. Amoonguss with between Rocky Helmet, the recoil that Koraidon is dealing to itself with Flare Blitz. That was an Amoonguss too, full health. It's got a lot of HP. Koraidon easily going to deal the rest of its HP bar in self-recoil and take itself out. Which means that, even if I think the sun might have been worn off at this point in the battle, but
It was.
even if the Brute Bonnet did have the booster defense boost from Photosynthesis, I think it was probably still going down to this Glacial Lance.
At single target, yeah, he's so cooked. He is so done. So now we've got a +1 Terra Fairy Calyrex and a half HP Kyogre. I just don't think you can go the distance, right? Because it's just like, if it's Calyrex, protect Trick Room. If it's Walking Wake, Protect Trick Room. And if it's GU, I think it's just Protect Trick Room time. So I think Gavin's just got this one in the bag.
Right. I know there is the silliest counterplay to Protect Trick Room, which is you can encore the Calyrex to stop it from going for Trick Room and instead go for Glacial Lance. However, it involves taking a Glacial Lance to the face while doing no damage in return, and I don't think that that is ever going to win the game.
No.
So yeah, Protect Trick Room is just a incredibly safe play. Even a critical hit Astral Barrage from this Spooky Plate Shadow Rider should not even come close to KOing the Calyrex Ice here. I believe Gavin's running it quite bulky as well. So yeah, that Fairy Terra paying off big.
And I think that's the thing too that makes Calyrex Ice like Calyrex Ice has changed like fundamentally of how he works in this format with this Leech Seed set, and it just makes him so much more bulky, right? Because like you're all about just kind of being a Leech Seed bot, and your Glacials just do amazing damage anyways, so it doesn't really matter, especially if you get a boost. But it does really change up how you have to approach him and how you have to think about the KOs, because he's shifted quite a lot defensively instead of that attack. But yeah, now
I'm getting quite low here, and so none of the moves that are really going to win, lock this position up, are 100% accurate. So I do feel like a double protect was an option for here. I do know that Jet ends up forfeiting, but yeah, Orange Pulse, Hydro Pump can miss, and there are much worse odds to have at winning a battle. This was a +1 Chilling May boosted Calyrex Ice, but as far as I know, I think Gavin might have been running very little offense investment. So if there's a chance, I feel like you take it, and so might as well just go for a double protect, see if the Kyogre goes down to the poison, and then maybe just fire off an Astral Barrage, single target, and hope that's enough to finish off the Cali Ice.
Yeah, certainly. And like you said, with the chances to miss, but obviously then you kind of have to attack on that turn. But yeah, I think a double protect could have maybe won. It's an option. But yeah, that turn 1 miss was huge. It just kind of set the pace for the game, and I feel like it was still pretty close-ish. Like I do think, I don't know if there were any turns where I really think that Gavin could lose. It kind of felt like once that turn 1 happened, he didn't really mess up. So I don't know. I think I wouldn't be too mad if I lost that game, and it's like, all right, time to lock back in, have that Mamba mentality that he has, and just try to win.
Right. That is the tough part. Is the Flutter is a real annoying presence, and we committed 2 moves into it essentially on turn 1 between Flame Charge and the poison gas. But if it misses, you're gonna have to spend a 3rd move to deal with the Flutter Mane. Yeah. At that point, it's a Flutter Mane. You can't be spending 3 moves to KO it.
When you put it like that, it just feels so like it's kind of crazy that Flutter did soak up. It took the Seed Bomb, the Poison Gas miss, and then the Flame Charge. Yeah. Not only that, it fired off like a taunt and stuff. It did just kind of go LeBron that game. And also, like, he did go for Sucker, so like it could have been targeted at Flutter. It could have sucked up another 4th move on that turn. We will never know. But yeah, Flutter Mane went MVP status there. That was pretty nuts. And that's what it's for, right? It's for the Sun matchup. It can't protect. It's just there to deal damage and be disruptive, and it certainly was. What do you do? What do you adjust? How do you adjust? How can you adjust? Is it gonna be the same thing? Okay, it's gonna be Chi-Yu plus Shadow Rider. That's pretty crazy. Into Kaliamungus? He called his ass.
That is, yeah. The adjustment is crazy here, especially because when you win, it's so much easier to swap to a new game plan, hoping to catch your opponent off guard, and trying to stay 1 step ahead here. I gotta say, this is a pretty good looking lead for Zhe here.
Yeah, but this play from Gavin does look kind of like it almost diffuses it. Like, being the Terra Fairy, being bulky, and having the rain is just pretty sick here. And I think that's part of why these two are so good together, the Kyogre and the Calyrex, right? Like, it just helps alleviate a lot of the weaknesses and lets Calyrex be as strong as he possibly can.
Yeah, and I mean, I still think that this could be a lot of damage on turn 1.
And there is Koraidon, so the weather would be easy to reclaim from Zhe. And like, Koraidon's really lit in a Kyogre because it's not like Groudon, there's no weakness there, so switching it in on a Spout doesn't actually feel bad. It does feel bad when you switch on a Glacial Lance Spout, but still.
Yeah, that is kind of what we were talking about, the synergy between these two Pokemon. You know, Dragon's another thing to resist your Kyogre's attacks, and Kali Ice there to cover for that. We just see, I mean, no Terra is necessary, so...
yeah. Just dealing damage.
Yeah,
But now we have this crazy pin where he just gets to spam Glacial Origin Pulse. I'm not sure if it, like, if you do switch in Koraidon, does Kyogre go the distance against the Shadow Rider? I'm not sure.
Right, I know. That's the thing that I remember thinking originally when I watched this back the first time, is that I don't know if the Kali Ice, especially, you know, we talked about it being relatively weak Kali Ice, can KO the Shadow Rider here. And I'm not even sure Koraidon dies on the switch in either, because, again, a very weak Kali Ice.
Yeah.
However, Zhang goes the route of just deciding, let's get Koraidon in safely and sack our Chi-Yu. Unfortunately, Chi-Yu, feeling a little too agile, a little too eager to dodge the attack and get off a very pathetic Heat Wave here. Not even hitting the Kyogre. I mean, not that that was a huge factor, but the fact that the Chi-Yu isn't allowing Zhang to get off a swap here is pretty devastating.
Yeah, now you have to switch in Koraidon and just hope that Shadow Rider can go the distance. You don't really have an option at this point. I guess maybe if you have the Walking Wake in the bag. But yeah, I think it's time to throw Koraidon in and just hope for the best. There's not much you can do here. The lead was good, but Gavin just said, yeah, I'm just going to set up Trick Room and just hit my moves here. Except he didn't hit the move he wanted to there. He actually dodged a move, which is really nice.
Yes. I know, this is just crazy to see. And then I think that this next turn, like, you still have the option to kind of, like, you know, I mean, you could make that miss work a turn later and just switch to Koraidon and fire off another Astral Barrage, and I feel like it's maybe a solidly winning line for Zhang. You know, Koraidon going to go down, but you might be able to just pick up both Restricteds in compensation. But we do see the opposite happen, where Chi-Yu stays in, and not only does this mean that like, I do believe the Chi-Yu ends up going down here, but technically it's Beats of Ruin boosted Origin Pulse, so if it was close, it would get problematic. However, it doesn't look that close, as we can see, and so a Koraidon is going to survive that. And yeah, it just kind of begs the question, you know, I'm sure that, you know, if I was in this spot in finals, looking at that position, watching it back later, just thinking about, like, what ifs, like, you know, how would the game have played out if Koraidon had swapped in for the Chi-Yu instead.
Yeah, especially, like, I'm thinking Calyrex probably lives the Astral Barrage, but now with the two leftovers, it's just chilling. Like, there's no fear for this thing. I guess Brute Bonnet gets to come in here. It does alleviate some of the pressure. You can throw it on a Spore. You still have a full HP Shadow Rider. Like, you still could potentially go the distance here. It's not over yet. You might be committing. I mean, committing a Terra does feel bad, but I do think you don't really need to, because you have that defense boost. Kyogre's always switching. You're always getting Glacial. Huh. Amoonguss coming in.
Lock it going.
I'm locked in. Wow,
yeah,
that
Glacial there. I mean, that is kind of just, again, a sign of how big a defense boost can go for the Brute Bonnet, but also how weak this Kali Ice is. Again, like, it's got no juice. Max HP, and I'm sure a lot of those other EVs are elsewhere. Doing a lot of work for it, though, as we see. Like, it's not a bad strategy by any means, because the Kali Ice is tanking these hits, absorbing them all.
And Amoonguss coming in at perfect timing right now. Obviously, even if Koraidon protected there, it was a pretty safe turn to just fire off Glacial and then bring in your Spore to threaten the Spore on that slot, because Brute Bonnet does nothing to Amoonguss. The other guys have to deal with him. So this is just a great spot. You're able to just sit there, spam Spore in that slot, and I just think nothing you can do. I think this is going to be a free little nap for Calyrex, and he's going to wake up ready to go, probably almost at full HP from a Palm Buff later on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like Gavin's team, right? I feel like it's all about just keeping Calyrex, like, eternal and living forever. Like, this Protect just doesn't matter. You don't really care. He does go for sports.
No. And, like, Pollen Buff is always an option, whether into the Brute Bonnet or to heal up your Kali Ice. But, I mean, Jed does get the right option here, but it's still just a question of will it be enough. Seed bombing the Amoonguss, I guess just trying to put it in range of like Sucker Punch Astral. I don't really know. Covering for the Kyogre swap, I guess, is another thing. But Amoonguss is just happy to be on the field right now. And Gavin does just also have a whole other Pokemon in the back.
Yeah, Grimmsnarl is big here. Everything is low. Grimmsnarl is great into Shadow Rider, good into Brute Bonnet. He does have this crazy ass Sucker Punch Spirit Break set. So like at any point he can one shot the Shadow Rider and the Koraidon if he can remove Brute Bonnet. So Grimmsnarl is actually, he's nice as hell. He's nice here. Takes the Psychic,
and switches it on the Psychic.
And then the Seed Bomb.
Seed Bomb. Oh, it chips it down, gets a nice critical hit on the flip side, and Cali stays asleep. I can't tell if that's 2 or maybe a close to 3 turn here. And notably, you mentioned that, you know, the Sucker Punch Spirit Break set on Grimmsnarl. But yeah, I think Jet hasn't even used Terra yet, so there's still a bit of a mind game there. You know, you can cover the Sucker Punch with Rage Powder. You can also cover it with Terra Dark. However, Spirit Break would be super effective into both of your Pokemon if you Terra Dark. So it's a bit of a question of, like, you know, what do you prioritize here? Gavin kind of goes for a bit of an opt-out play and just light screens here when, you know, probably also kicking himself, seeing that he could have just locked this game up with a Sucker Punch.
Yeah, but the light screen's safe, right? Like, it meets in the middle. He's going to eat the Seed Bomb here, though. He's getting low. He's getting low. And Calyrex actually does
stay
asleep. Yeah.
The 3-turn sleep all the way. Really giving a chance to get back in this one, especially with, you know, Cali Ice now in range of an Astral Barrage. And from there, we know how it goes with this horse. You get a boost, and the boosts start racking up. So the game might still swing out of control here if the Shadow Rider is able to get off some Grimnays.
Yeah, Shadow Rider really could take this over. Trick Room is like, you can't even really set up Trick Room here because you do have to protect as well. Rage Powder's nice here. Pulling in the Sucker Punch, don't want to take that risk. And, okay, I guess it's up to you if Astral Barrage can KO here. The sun is gone. And if this kills, yeah, if Grimmsnarl goes down, and then if Grimmsnarl can kill Brute Bonnet, he lives with 10. It's pretty clutch.
And I believe the Rocky Helmet will take it out in return.
No boost, no boost. See you later, Grimmsnarl. So yeah, he's... I think Amoonguss is still fine to win the game, is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, the light screen definitely helping it survive a Psychic. I mean, it's not even Life Orb boosted. So, yeah, this is like a relatively safe spot. However, we might end up just in a bit of a Spore war again, seeing as, you know, Amoonguss can Spore the opposing Shadow Rider, but then Brute Bonnet gets to Spore the Ice Rider here. It's literally just, you know, horses versus horses and shrooms versus shrooms.
And it's like, who's going to wake up first? Because if you do wake up, you do start picking up KOs, you just start winning the game. But we're going to see Astro come out. Okay, that's fair. Just dealing as much damage as possible. He lives with 4. That's huge. And he goes for Seed Bomb, though. Okay, so it is dead. I'm not sure if he wanted to kill it, though.
No, right? That's the tricky part.
Because now you're going to sleep. And then Kyogre just needs to live 1 hit, and it probably wins the game. It has to hit some Origin Pulses, though. Because, yeah, I mean, it has to live a Sucker Punch, too, right? I'm thinking it can. I guess you could protect. You could protect and then go for Pollen Puff to get the KO, which is really safe. But then there is the first turn Wake chance, and that Kyogre probably dies to to Astral. So like going for the Opals here might be your best move. But that means you have to hit it too. So Sucker comes through.
Punch does connect and lives on to.
Now he just needs to hit.
And let's see.
He does hit.
Double connects.
So much damage.
And now, yeah, I think that just locks it up. I mean, honestly, props to Jeff for bringing it so close, despite some things not going your way earlier in the battle.
Yeah.
And I mean, even game 1 also a bit unlucky there too. So just like making this look a lot more competitive than it might have been. But I think even like, I mean, technically Shadow Rider does have like a double crit chance if it wakes up. Step 1 is wake up. Shadow Rider, are you feeling ready? I mean, there's only one button to click.
No,
And
he's not feeling ready.
no wake up at all. So Gavin takes his 4th regional championship down.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And
that's nuts.
joins a very, very exclusive club. I think I was talking to him the other day about it, and I believe there's like Zach Drocomp in there, and I can't remember the other name, but yeah, not a lot of people have won 4.
I think it might be Michael Lenzano. But yeah, yeah, it's like a bunch of old heads, and then I mean, once you cross the 3 mark, 3 is really impressive, but to go to 4, once you go past 4 or you're at 4, it's like on one hand, right? Like there's like Wolf, Paul,
so.
Riley, and yeah, it just goes.
What about this guy actually? The other guy,
Aaron? I think he's around 3,
Aaron
dude. I think he could be at 4. Aaron really could be at 4. Aaron does have a lot of wins.
I think Aaron Zhang might be at like 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, but yeah, either way, it's like really small numbers of players once you hit the number 4. So Gavin joins an insane club. Also locks up his invite. I do think this run was probably. I saw the casters were talking about how like he needed to win to get his invite, but I do think that he was like chilling once he had this really deep run. He was probably gonna go over 1,000 points.
He ended up at about 1050 in points or something like that, 1050 I think. And if he was minus 25, because that's what you get for second, 25 points less.
Yeah.
I think that he would still have been a pretty safe lock going into NAIC.
Yeah.
For a Worlds invite.
So either way though, Gavin clutches the invite, comes back from being banned and just dominates this regional with his classic rain team. And I think, like you said earlier in the video, we are gonna have to deal with this team, and the white whale will be something we have to think about. And the Weezing team too. You got to beat this team. It's so good. I think a couple things go his way, he wins the regional. And so I don't know. It was a good finals. It was interesting. Very Pokemon.
Right.
But anyways, thank you for joining me as usual. Alex does coach as well. I'll link that down below. So if you want to check out coaching from Alex, we got it here. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video.
All right, have a good one, y'all. Peace.
Peace.